Okay, hello everybody. Looks like I should be live. Let's see. I am working with a single monitor today, so just heads up in advance. There will be a lot more jumping around, and there might be a couple extra seconds of delays when I go between screens today. Looks like I'm live on PeerTube as well as YouTube. So again, on YouTube, just on the regular Techlore channel, and you can also watch this without Google or YouTube at all. It's called PeerTube. It's open source. It's hosted on our ends, and it's just techlore.tv, and it's the same exact stream. Let me go ahead and check comments. How are you guys doing? It's good to be back. Yeah, and I guess I should probably, here, one sec. Again, it's one monitor here, so give me a second because it's like playing my video. It's extremely distracting here. Let me pull up the wins and then your guys' comments here. Inbox per alias, let's see. Yes, so I had a family member pass last week. I really appreciate everybody's support. Ton of really sweet comments on YouTube, on Twitter, surprisingly. I'm surprised Twitter didn't turn that into some crazy thing, which it tends to do. Like everything's very polarizing there. And Mastodon as well. Like, thank you all for your support. Yes, it was a very last minute thing. They always happen last minute, and it's always unexpected. And I had to cancel last week's stream, but I'm really happy to be back. And I'm really happy to be here. And yes, I'm still not fully kind of back in the main swing of things, but I still wanted to show up. So the main issue you guys should experience is ideally the single monitor issue, which isn't hopefully a big deal. Let's see. Also, let's go ahead and give everyone a few minutes here to join. The major win is actually makes things easy. It's the first comment this week on the thread, and it's pretty much somebody who just went all in into Proton's ecosystem within a week. And I think it's a pretty interesting case study on what that looks like, because a lot of us have probably used or decided not to use Proton a long time ago, depending on who you are. And so it's interesting to kind of see that new perspective of like, oh, just jumping in for the first time, especially because they're always changing their ecosystem. So I thought that was a pretty interesting one. Let's see here. And I'll give everyone a few minutes here to join, and then we can get started with the wins. Feel free to say hi. Let me know if my video and audio sound good. Let's see. I won't be able to stay because time zone and watch the video later. Yes, I'm just happy you came and said hi, and these always are available after the fact, so you can always replay them. So yeah, let's see. It's really nice to get some content like this. Yes, it's fun to do on my end as well. And there's a nice little community that shows up each week. So also thank you all for making it possible. Yes, I'm doing fine. It's always, there is no PeerTube live chat. I just saw that right now. I'll touch on that in a sec. Yeah, I'm okay after last week. It's just, you know, stuff that needs to be processed and dealt with, and logistics, and it was a bit of a nightmare, but it all worked out. So let's see. Hope you're doing well. Yes, I hope you all are too. Good day, good day. Hello, Kinky Koala. Hope you're doing well. Proton is big tech at this point. Yeah, I mean, honestly, they are very massive with a ton of users. And that is something I will lightly touch on, of course, when we talk about it. Want a video on Adgard home setup in future? Interesting. What about Adgard is confusing for you that you'd like to see more specifically covered? Is there a PeerTube live chat? Yeah, so as of right now, just one live chat. PeerTube is this slow work in progress. In my head, it's still formally kind of a beta. I know it's PeerTube itself is not in beta, as far as I know, and our instance is not in beta, but in terms of the Techlore live streaming experience, the weekly privacy wins that you guys are all a part of, PeerTube is in beta. So it's something that I'm starting for you guys. There is no live chat there yet, but yes, ideally I'll find a better way to consolidate all the chats. Right now it's hard enough to keep up with one chat. So let's see. Video and audio good. It looks like kind of the edge of your body's blurred. Yes, so where I am requires blurring. Thanks to you, I started my online privacy journey. That's awesome, Xavier. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. It's cool hearing from a lot of you out there that like this was your entryway or one of the major parts of your journey. So it means a lot to hear that, and I'm glad that all the resources are helpful to you guys. I'm not sure if Proton moving from Switzerland to the EU will be any better of jurisdiction. Yeah, I'll touch on that. It's a really good question. Hope you're doing well. Yes, yes. Welcome in, Starman. Welcome in, Ken. Good afternoon. Kind of feels ancient with some services. Yeah, I'd love to hear which ones you think are ancient, Frederick. I know calendar's probably my biggest pet peeve right now. Okay. It looks like I got close to 100 people on right now. If you're in the chat, give it a like. Definitely share it around with people if you think anyone's interested in this. Post it on socials. I'd love to get more people involved with like the weekly positive stuff. Just again, I've said this a lot, but I feel like the space needs a little bit more positivity when it comes to actually showcasing people's wins. It's very easy to fall into the trap when you're going on the journey of making constant improvements, of not really realizing the weight of the improvements that you're making. And so that's the overall point of these streams. So along the way, I'm going to go ahead and start showcasing them. Along the way, please leave yours in the live chat. Also leave any questions or any things that you might be thinking about along the way. I want this to be kind of an open space for you guys to mingle and share any parts of your journey, good or bad. Also, I am coming off a little bit of a sickness, so if I sound a little weird, I apologize in advance. And I didn't plan very well because I have like this much water left, so I'm gonna try to pace things out as well as I can. So let's go ahead and get started with this here. And I want to start with the first one, which is the highlight one. And it comes from Tor Bjorn from our forum, who says, after stumbling into the security sphere, I have gone on a security spree. This week, I've started using basically all of Proton's free ecosystem, 2FA, aliasing, VPN. With aliasing, they're probably referring to Proton Pass aliasing, aka kind of simple login. Now they're wondering what's next. Here's what I've done roughly this week. It's summer in Sweden, and the days blend together during the holiday. So they ditched iCloud for Proton Drive, which was really easy. You just clicked sync on the iOS app, and boom, all photos uploaded. So it sounds like you might be doing this for mostly photos. Hard to know. Or maybe just drive storage. It'd be cool if you expanded on that. Videos about VPNs and heard about the Swedish police wanting to collect Molvad's data, which they couldn't, which made me think about what they collect from the ISP. I chose Proton mostly because it was free, and I already had switched to their email earlier this year. I then heard about Face ID could be used against me to unlock my phone, but obviously Sweden wouldn't allow that, so I added a restart shortcut to my home screen just in case. Yeah, and also both Pixels, Android devices, and iPhones all typically have kind of an SOS feature. I believe on iPhones, if you hit the power button 5 times, I think is the shortcut, it'll actually just trigger it, or you can just trigger the reboot with the power and volume down. If you just hold those, it'll pretty much, it'll prompt you to power off your phone, but that forces you to type in the password again. So you can set up a shortcut if you prefer a shortcut or you want a second option, but you have built-in ways to also trigger that as well. Passwords in 2FA. I saw Proton Authentication in the App Store. Of course, they had to get it. I connected virtually all of my accounts, at least the ones who support it. Then I saw Proton Pass and relocated my passwords from the iPhone Password Manager, changed the reoccurring password I used across all my logins, and I like the emoji choice here, to Proton-generated passwords. This alone is like amazing that you did this in a week, because I see password management updates to all of your services as a multi-month project, and that is what it is for me and a lot of people. So this is a huge props for being able to do this all in one go. I know about Graphene and I really want it, but I will wait till I can afford it. Yes, it is Pixel only, so if you don't have one, there is going to be some upfront cost there. I'm using Signal as a messaging app, and I'm not sure how to get my family and friends to use it. Should I use Apple Pay instead of putting in my credentials manually? I know Apple Pay is supposed to be safer, but what do they store on their end? Which iOS browser should I use for privacy? Okay, so a lot to unpack here. First off, I am, I think, as fair as I can be with Proton. Very honest, very like, I like this, I don't like this. One thing I feel like I don't give Proton enough credit for is just how far you can go on the Proton free ecosystem. They've always had generous free plans for Proton Mail, Proton VPN. That's always been an option, but now that they're adding more and more things, it's pretty impressive what you can do for free, which it sounds like this is what you did. It sounds like you more or less just replaced the iCloud ecosystem with Proton ecosystem for free, which is pretty crazy. I recently did a budget privacy guide, and one of the main showcased solutions was just Proton for free, because it just checks so many different boxes. You have a password manager, you have basic aliasing, you have a VPN, you have drive storage, you have email, and then the rest of the gaps like file encryption if you want to do something locally. Those are always free for the most part. Messengers are pretty much always free. So like the rest, browsers, the rest of the things are normally pretty free. So it actually does take care of a lot of things. And I think Tor Bjorn kind of picked up on that. Now, specifics here. I think Proton Drive is a bit more limited than what iCloud can provide. So if you do find any issues there are some other services out there as well. In terms of VPNs, I think Proton VPN is perfect. It's kind of a usability thing for me at this point. You know, I always talk about the top 4 VPN providers. They trade blows in different areas. You know, some of them might have better jurisdictions. Some of them might have better clients. Some of them might do warrant canaries while others don't. Some of them have 2FA, some don't. But all 4 of them are open source. They have like a completely spotless track record. And for those who don't know, it's Mullvad, iVPN, Proton, and Windscribe. They all are doing kind of the best practices in this space. So I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. I think Proton Pass and Proton Authenticator are perfectly great solutions. I recently did a video on Proton Authenticator, if you guys saw that, and pretty much I'm coming from Ente Auth, and the main decision is like, well, does it make sense to move from Ente Auth? For me, not yet, but Proton Authenticator seems perfectly good, and if that's your first entryway into authentication apps, then it's a great place to be. And then, yeah, if you're still looking for a Pixel, it's definitely more of a personal like cost thing that you should evaluate. And when it comes to iOS browsers for privacy, this is the last thing I'll touch on for this one. A bit, I wouldn't say it's controversial, but there's different stances on this. One thing that's really important for you to know, Tor Bjorn, is that everything on iOS is running WebKit, which is Apple's open source browser engine. So even if you're using Google Chrome on iOS, it's still using WebKit. Now, the privacy and security protections will still differ despite you still using WebKit. And also the features that a browser will provide you will also change potentially the privacy and security you can receive. So a really good example of this is Brave browser on iOS. On Brave, you get access to some custom block lists. You can change, you still get like the Brave Shield, so it'll do ad blocking. You can use YouTube with some things disabled. It even has the ability to block like cookie pop-ups. Like these are all very real things, but it's still based on WebKit, so it's still not the full-fledged Brave browser you're fully familiar with. But also, if you're using Brave on another device and you're syncing bookmarks across those, that's now kind of a key part of your workflow. So I don't fully agree with the overall stance, because this is a common stance, which is, well, everything's based on WebKit, so just use Safari. I use Safari as my main browser, so this is coming from someone who does not give the advice I'm about to give, which is just, again, I use Safari mainly because of lockdown mode, which I'll talk about in a sec. But if it wasn't for lockdown mode, I'd probably use Brave on iOS because it's a much better browser than Safari in a lot of things, and it offers a lot of cool privacy and security benefits. Now, for lockdown mode, it's a like kind of hardcore privacy and security mode that you can enable on your Apple devices. You can't do site exclusions with lockdown mode in third-party browsers. So if you're using lockdown mode, you're probably best on Safari, using something like Adgard, or recently Ublock Origin Lite, which is now on, yes, iOS mobile Safari. If you guys haven't heard about that, check it out. I still have yet to check it out, and I want to do that. So let me know if you want to see a dedicated video on Ublock Origin Lite. That is all I have to say about that one, and now I'm going to pivot over to the live chat. Let's see. Where are we here? Live stream with chat. I like the idea of syncing authenticator codes across devices like Proton, though I worry that someone getting into the sync account would compromise your 2FA. Yeah, if this is a concern of yours, none of these authenticator apps require an account. Proton Authenticator does not require an account, and it still allows you to export and import. So what I'd recommend to you is get Ente Auth, Proton Authenticator, whichever authenticator app you're using, get all your codes in there, export them, and then import them onto a secondary device as a backup. And there you go. You now no longer really need to sync. I'm not adding TOTP to my TOTP app that often. It might happen at most once every few months. So for me, this is perfectly okay. And I think if you're adding services more frequently than that, then maybe it makes sense to sync and just deal with the consequences. I still think that this is a much smaller attack vector than just not having 2FA in the first place. So this wouldn't be my first concern for most people. If my friend or family member came to me and they said, well, I don't have 2FA set up yet, and I don't really want to because it requires account syncing, I'd go, no, just deal with the account syncing. That's the more important thing, is to just have 2FA in the first place. Basically, you can do a lot more with Adgard, which is its own rabbit hole, like which upstream to choose, filter list, which settings to toggle. So a full setup video, thanks in advance. Yeah, I'll look into it. Adgard makes things pretty easy, so I'll go ahead and see if there's like an overlap of you know, it needing a tutorial as well as overall demand. There's a lot of things people want to see tutorials on, so I'll see if it's something that I can fit time in for. Mr. Plasma, missed the streams. Yes, no, they're fun, and I wish I could have done it last week. I actually tried to make it work with flights and everything, and it just wasn't possible. So I really appreciate everybody's patience on not having a stream last week. Starman, I'm sorry for your loss. I recently lost a relative too, so I know how you feel. That you'd be proud knowing you're helping so many people with online privacy. Thank you. No, that's really sweet of you. Yeah, it's yeah. I hope my family's proud of this. I don't know. It's hard. I don't talk about it that much actually, which you might say is ironic, but I guess it's not. It's unironic because it's about privacy. What do you think about the Pixel chat suggestions? I can't deny, I'm not convinced is private. I actually haven't seen this yet, so I can't comment on it. Yeah, so this is a good point. So never put your eggs in one basket. 100% valid for Proton as well. So yeah, really important to talk about this. You know, it's something that I think everybody should be aware of. If you're going all in on Proton, you are putting a lot of trust in Proton. Now, this is framed as you're putting a lot of trust in Proton from a security point of view, which means, oh, if someone breaks into your Proton account, they have access to everything. I think that's true. I'm, though, more concerned about you're putting all your eggs into just a company in general. It doesn't have to be Proton. It could be Tuda. It could be anybody. When so many eggs are in one basket, you have to kind of trust the direction they're going to take things, if they're going to always keep things the way they are. So that's always something to keep in mind. Luckily, Proton is overall pretty open to exporting data, so the data portability is pretty solid. So if anything goes sour, you can export and import your data into most other services out there. That's personally my concern. If you are a bit more concerned about the security aspect, you can use Proton with 2-password mode. And of course, please use security keys. They do support security keys. And they also have a Sentinel program that you can enable as well for extra security there. So those are some benefits to make those concerns a little bit less so. But yeah, if this is something that you can't compromise on, then that's why there are easy services that you can swap in and out. Instead of using Proton VPN, you have Molvad, you have iVPN. Instead of using Proton Pass, you have Bitwarden or KeyPass. So that you can kind of pick and choose which services you want, even if you're using the Proton ecosystem. Yes, there is still no Proton drive for Linux. I agree. Just installed Graphene on a Pixel 7. Got on Amazon for $215. It had half-inch scratch on the screen, which disappeared when I put a screen protector on it. I've never seen a scratch disappear when I put a screen protector on it. So you must have a crazy screen protector, but that's a really good deal. So that's pretty awesome. Use Ente auth. Yeah, these aren't Twitter threads, so we don't need to go all caps here. Let's see. Hello, Kion. 2.0. No, sorry, I didn't want to mix you up with 1.0. Michael, Shell, you rock. Okay, yeah. Prof, been a while since I've been in a Techlore live stream. Hope you're doing well. Hope the stream is going well. Thanks, Prof. It's good to see you, man. I have so many questions. I'm trying to put it in a sentence. Yeah, you can do different sentences too. All right, let's go back to the wins. I'm done lightly trolling the live chat. Not a name, I'll say. Might as well do this one since I just started doing this recently. For those unaware, there's Picorypt, which is a file and folder encryption tool. It's not developed anymore as of August 2025, but it's small and powerful, and it utilizes some good encryption ciphers, and it's been audited. Now, okay, are you the Picorypt developer here? Unlike Veracrypt, which requires sudo, Picorypt doesn't do sudo. All this described is why I wanted to try out Picorypt. Okay, so I encrypted some files with it to see how it works. I'm still learning what I'd want to do with it, but I'm sure I'll find a way to pull this off to where I can send things encrypted, as that's now a requirement. If anyone wants a tip, you can use Picorypt or Veracrypt to encrypt something and then send the encrypted file and the necessary password through something like Wormhole or Send. So even its transport can't be encrypted in transit and at rest. This is how you can protect the metadata of what you're sending and own it so the receiver who's collaborating with you or yours. Make sure you use disposable links to do this, or they become AI material to provide slop. Yes, so overall, really cool workflow. So if you're just new to this whole space, like if you're just new into privacy security, you want the easiest path to just basic file encryption, I say just get started with a basic end-to-end encrypted cloud provider. I haven't looked into this 100%. I'm fairly certain Send and Wormhole are end-to-end encrypted, so it's just you and the person and whatever like encryption key would be in the shared link. So I believe Wormhole already has end-to-end encryption, but don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% certain. But if you're using something like Proton Drive, Mega, Filin, any of these providers that have end-to-end encryption, you're already pretty well off. A lot of these services already have a commitment to privacy. A lot of them, if you delete the file, they're not going to store that data for a long period of time, if at all. And you're already getting a majority of the benefits by just having the encryption in the first place. But if you are a little bit more advanced, you want to go above and beyond and like really need to make sure the metadata stays tight and only with you and the other person, then you can do exactly what this person is doing, which is they're essentially encrypting things on their end before it touches a provider. And it is kind of double encryption in a way. So you can use something like Picorypt, Vericrypt, or even something like Cryptomator, and do that encryption, upload it to the provider, even if it's an end-to-end encrypted provider, and then even if something happens, like their encryption algorithm is weak, there's a backdoor, they do some shady stuff, it doesn't matter, because then they'll just have an encrypted file that doesn't really have much metadata of what's inside of it. So really cool, very best practice, and it's a cool thing to explore and play with. Even if you're a beginner, try playing with it and seeing how it works. But I will say, even as someone who is experienced with a lot of these tools, I still just upload the Wormhole, unless it's something extremely sensitive. In that case, then I'll probably just send it through Signal in an encrypted file on Signal or something like that. That's a good workaround for me. We got Big-ish Doctor. Let me make sure I'm still on the right scene. Okay, yes. Okay, you guys can see everything I want you to see. I do some photography as a hobby, and I'm still reliant on some closed source editing software to make things easier. I'd love to hear what you're using. If it's Adobe, I'm sorry. I understand why. Affinity's pretty good. I've been using Affinity for like Techlore stuff, but about you. Tools like GIMP are capable, but it saves a lot of time when the software deals with a lot of the decisions for me. Yeah, I've tried getting into GIMP. It's hard to get into it, especially if you have a history of using and learning on the Adobe suite, which is, I think, where Affinity really shines, because it's kind of the same thing as Adobe, just one-time purchase. And hopefully it stays that way and Canva doesn't mess it up, because they bought out that company. I'm authorized almost entirely on Linux, given Windows constantly badgering to enable Windows backup and upload everything to the cloud. They bought an M2 Mac Mini from a family member that was looking to upgrade and have now migrated my photo editing setup to it. I'm also starting to use it for more sensitive things like finance, since it's generally more secure than Linux. It's been a journey getting used to the interface differences, and I'm still in the process of migrating all the files and getting multiple backups set up, but it's turned into a real workhorse for anything other than gaming. Yeah, again, I have definitely been pretty vocal about how I think that macOS isn't a terrible middle ground for a lot of people. I think Linux has some really cool properties that just can't be beat by any other operating system, but macOS isn't a terrible place to be. You're going to just find objectively better privacy and security than what you find on Windows, and you can even use it without an Apple account, and you can even disable a lot of the telemetry Apple does, and there's some really cool privacy and security tools on macOS that you can even use to take things to the next level. Like you can disable any kind of domains that pretty much ping Apple and things like that. So it's not a bad system to be on, but it doesn't quite do everything Linux can do in some respects as well. But hey, something Mac can do, this is not a reflection of them, but you do have a Proton Drive client on macOS. That is more of a reflection of Proton not supporting Linux. But it is an issue. Just as a whole on Linux, there are lots of cool pieces of software that just aren't on Linux yet, and I'd love to see them there. And things like a proper photo editing tool, I think are something that Linux needs. I know there's going to always be a demographic of people who love GIMP and can use GIMP, but unless we meet professionals where they are and give them a reason to move to Linux, they're not going to want to relearn a tool that is in a lot of ways still worse than the tool that they're currently using, just because it's open source. This is something that I want to make a dedicated video on soon, but it's pretty much the concept of means and ends, and how something I see a lot in the privacy world, security world, the open source world, people treat their community as the end. So this is, it sounds off topic, but it's going somewhere. So people are like, well, I care about privacy, so I'm just going to do this because it makes me more private. That's treating privacy as an end. I think that privacy should be treated as a means to an end, as is security. Security should be a means to an end, as well as open source should be a means to an end. The difference here is, oh, this is more private, therefore I use it. This means that, again, privacy is an end to you. But if privacy is a means to you, you're going to go, well, this gives me more privacy so that I get better what? And when people answer that question, privacy is now a tool to help them get where they're going to get for a bigger, broader, more important goal than just privacy itself. I think, of course, we can still treat privacy itself as a human right and something that we care about, but I think it would really help people if they really ask, well, why am I treating this seriously? Why do I care about finding an Adobe alternative? And then you say, well, oh, because this is open source, then it fills this gap that I'm looking for with this. Maybe it's because I want to be free of big tech companies and be more sovereign with my workflow so that if something goes wrong, I can pivot to a different open source project. That is your end, and the mean to do that is to use a tool like GIMP. So it's a slightly different way of doing this. Again, I'm still kind of mentally processing this, and I'm giving you kind of my goop, my brain goop right now. But hopefully it makes enough sense, and I would definitely polish up my talking points for a video. So if you want to see that, let me know, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot. Let me do one more, and then I'll pivot over to the live chat. Let's see here. Nakuzo. I very recently discovered this community after deciding that I want to boost my privacy and security online. This is the first time I post in a Privacy Wins of the Week post. So here's a summary of where I am currently and the future projects. So this looks like you got a lot going on here, so I'm excited for this. So current wins, they deleted Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge, and they've migrated to Brave and Mullvad. They actually like Brave browser a whole lot better than Chrome. That is something I consistently tell people, that I think most people would actually prefer Brave once you remove the crap on it over Chrome. Brave search engine, switched to Proton Suite and got a subscription. Was already using Bitwarden for my passwords, but I did the very tedious task of deleting unused accounts, switched almost everything to an email alias through Proton, and changed passwords to strong ones. I'm now using Proton Pass, and I like it just a little bit better than Bitwarden, although both are fantastic. And I really like your assessment on that, actually. That's pretty much where I land on them. I had 2 Google accounts, deleted one, but the other, it's sadly not possible. Totally fine. Deleted my entire Facebook history, old posts, etc., which thankfully it wasn't a lot. Changed your Wi-Fi password and router logins. Deleted all Google, Apple, Meta apps from your phone except Instagram. Also, just pro tip, you might still need the app, but the Instagram web app is actually pretty solid, so you can even like add it to your home screen. I've heard good things about people who use Instagram in the web. Discovered RSS feeds and find them extremely intuitive. Just need to start using them a lot more often. As someone with my RSS feed that's never ending, especially when I'm like travel and there's a funeral last week and I come back to like 200 things in my RSS feed, I wish I had your problem right now. And you uninstalled a whole lot of unused apps and switched to web apps for some. Awesome, those are already huge wins. So I'm already sending massive congrats to you on that. And in terms of future projects, they are looking to get a NAS. The goal eventually is to unsubscribe from Netflix and Apple Music and have a similar service with my own library using something like Plex. Yeah, the NAS is awesome. It's become a really core part of my workflow. I did a whole review on my Synology NAS, and it's something I'm still using all the time. And I literally just couldn't function the same way without it. It's become such a key part of all of my workflow. It's become my core archiving machine. I don't even know where I'd put those files if I didn't have the NAS. So it's something that people should take a look at. And it has a lot of other cool use cases like what you're trying to do. I don't personally use it for that. For me, it's mainly like my full like archive for everything. Wi-Fi router. Buy an Asus router to install VPN directly in there so that all devices in my household are a bit more secure. NoteSnook. My line of work involves a lot of note-taking. They used pen and paper or something like Apple Notes, but they've already created an account with NoteSnook. They need to try it out to see if it works for me. Yeah, definitely give it a shot. Some people also like Standard Notes, Crypty. What else? Joplin is another one. And of course, you have Obsidian if you want something like offline. So try those all out. Redact, they like the idea, but they don't like the annual plan, which I think is fair. I shared that even as a criticism in the interview that I did with them. Monero, I'm well versed in anything related to crypto. I'm still reading, but if I find a daily life kind of use case, I'll probably get some Monero as well. Yeah, so the best way to use Monero in your daily life is probably via gift cards right now. This is what I do as well. If I have some Monero and I want to use it, I'll normally buy a gift card for that specific store, or I get like a prepaid Visa card. And there are coin cards online. There's Cake Wallet, which has Cake Pay. I do marketing for them, but again, you can also use coin cards, but I use Cake Wallet and Cake Pay because that's the app I use. And there are some other services out there that do this as well. But really, that's probably the easiest way to actually use Monero, because who actually accepts Monero right now? It's pretty limited. So just some places for you to get started. And then let's see, let's go over back to you guys. Love your videos, Henry. I hope you'll make videos for a long time. I hope so too. Thank you, Mr. Plasma. And it's been a long time. It's been a decade now, which is crazy to say. You could not have convinced me at all that 10 years ago. It'd be like, oh, you'll still be making videos in 10 years, Henry. And I'll go, no. So it's crazy for me too. And yeah, I wouldn't be here without all of you guys. So it's a group effort for sure. I've gotten a lot of good tips that I share with friends from Henry and the new oil guy. Cool. Yeah, I'm glad it's helpful. I really hope Proton stays nice. Would be hell to get all these email aliases changed. Yeah. And you know, on that note too, if you use Proton Pass or Simple Login with a custom domain, then this is kind of a non-issue. I've actually been thinking about doing this, to be honest, because I have been stumbling on more services that are just instant flagging my Simple Login and Proton Pass aliases. So I do think that's starting to become more common. And they don't normally tell you. So I've been getting orders canceled and accounts that just say, oh, we had to shut down your account. And it's like, I find out what triggered it was the frickin' email. So I am considering setting up just some custom domain on a random domain, you know, just random stuff like boardbeachchatwin.com, you know, just finding a random domain that's really cheap and then just setting up all your emails under that. And that way too, you know, if something happens and you don't like Simple Login anymore, or they do something crazy, you just pivot it to a different email provider, set up a catch-all domain, and then boom, you're still receiving all your emails. You'll still have to transition them probably to something else in a different service, but you're still receiving your emails in the same place, and you don't have to change anything to make that happen. So you can still set up systems to be more resilient, even if you're going like all in on Proton. Mr. Plasma has a win that they're sharing. When I have to use Discord for chatting, I use Wormhole to send pictures to people in Discord, hoping it would be more privacy friendly. Not really a big thing. Yeah, but you know, I think it gets people familiar with these tools. I think Wormhole is actually a super cool service. If you guys haven't used Wormhole yet, check it out. And that's probably the biggest win from that, in my view, is that you're exposing people to these tools and they're like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. It's got a really cool animation. It makes downloads really easy. And then they go, well, next time I want to send a sensitive file, now I know this tool exists. And I think that's more effective than you might give it credit for. So I think that's a big win of that. Let's see, I want to ask, how do I unsync my Gmail account from my Proton account? Like, how do I stop receiving mail from Gmail to Proton? I don't know, actually. I've never done that feature before. There has to be a way, and I'm sure Proton has a support article about it. If not, reach out to their support team, or if someone in the live chat already knows, please let us know. But I've never used that feature, so I can't directly help there. You got a second one here. I'm having issues with Authy account. Sometimes my 2FA codes work and sometimes it doesn't work. Is it because I exported my 2FA codes from Proton Pass? I don't know. They should always be working, and I don't know why they would or wouldn't work at different times. The only thing I can think of is, for some weird reason, maybe like the time. There was some kind of time shift. You know how it's 30 seconds? Maybe, you know, there's some weird translation that happened, and maybe your code's got like 10, 15 seconds off, but I don't think that's possible. So I'm not fully sure on that one. If you really want to maybe deal with this permanently, the services that keep having this issue, just disable and re-enable the authentication there, and then just start it from scratch on just the new service that you're using. And that should hopefully deal with it. Proton Pass, Proton VPN, Proton VPN is great. I have no issues with those. Also the calendar, nice. I wonder why Graphene doesn't do an ecosystem like Proton. Yeah, it's very different, right? Like Graphene's like all local. It's stuff on your device. I think they might be able to explore that someday, but like Proton is a cloud company, if that makes sense. They're doing cloud services in the web. So it's a pretty different scope. And they aren't, they don't clash. Like you can use Proton perfectly well on graphene. So yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting, but I also don't know what that would look like. So I think, oh, you guys saw that too? Wasn't me. YouTube still skips. I think one of the big reasons people don't care about privacy is the cost of being private is immediate inconvenience, but the benefits are long-term and not easily quantifiable. Yeah, no, it's a fair assessment. Hyper crazy. My win of the week is deleting Snapchat. I never liked it, and I finally moved everyone over to at least WhatsApp and some to Signal. Yes, that is honestly a pretty big win. You know, I just made a video on like the dark side of WhatsApp and how WhatsApp doesn't do this and that. But I also just put out a post on our like microblogging platforms yesterday, which was a good reminder for me as well as hopefully all of you and everybody. Which is that it's fun to have our debates back here about like Brave versus LibreWolf versus Firefox and which one's better and which, you know, this, blah, 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 and we get nitty gritty, but ultimately they're all competing against Chrome, right? And I think that perspective is always important to have, and I think your win here kind of speaks to that. Deleting Snapchat and moving to WhatsApp, all of us are going to go, well, WhatsApp still has a lot of concerns, but ultimately WhatsApp is still competing against Snapchat, and Snapchat is, in most ways, I would argue, a bit worse than WhatsApp. And from a privacy perspective, at least. So yeah, I don't think WhatsApp is the best place to be, but if you're moving people from Snapchat to WhatsApp, I think there are some benefits there, and I would likely make the same decision if those are my two options for people. Will Proton Wallet add other coins soon other than Bitcoin only? That's a good question. Seth for Privacy did an interview with Andy Yen on the Opt Out podcast, and he pretty directly, firmly said there will be no Monero, which is why I am not a fan of Proton Wallet. But I think he did tease that there could be other currencies, but he made it sound like Monero would not be anywhere near one of the first ones they'd consider. So yeah, that's based on my memory of it. That's probably where I'd go back and listen to, but there's been very few developments there. So I don't know if they're cooking something and something big. It'd be cool. Last I heard, they're just kind of waiting to see what happens with the Samurai and the Tornado Cash people because they wanted to bake more privacy tools into Bitcoin, but they have these really massive court cases that prevent them from implementing those privacy tools. So, in the future of this ID verification using your passport instead of your driver's license, since passports have less info. Yes, this is something I do overall recommend. I always try to use my passport instead of a driver's license because it doesn't include an address on it. It also doesn't even include a state. So if you have like a private mailbox in a different state than where you reside, you're really easily able to use that private mailbox and still use your passport. And yeah, there's just not that much crazy personal information exposed in your passport. Of course, you know, it's still going to include your basic personal information, but the driver's license in my book is worse, so I do try to opt for that as well. Just dropped by to say that I am addicted to extensions. I have about 32. This is the privacy wins stream, not the losses. I have 32 active at all times and about 10 user scripts off Greasy Fork. I'm not trolling. I actually use them. Am I doomed? I don't know if this is a real comment. Are you doomed? Probably not. Could you have a far more optimal browser configuration? I would say yes. So I do not recommend this at all. Kion, I heard news that Proton will be leaving Switzerland. Is that a question? Or yes, I put my eggs in one basket. I use all Proton apps. LOL, I really like the whole Proton project. It has massive potential. Yeah, so they have talked about leaving Switzerland for Europe, which is interesting because now Europe's also trying to pass some really weird stuff. So yeah, very in the flow right now. We don't really know what's going on. I think in the next 6 months, things will probably look a little bit clearer on what's actually going on. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at least. Hello, Rainstripes. Hello. I can't even think of 32 browser extensions. LOL. Yeah, no, I might be able to if you like force me to, but I might run out of time if there was a time requirement. Great idea about the aliases. I think this is the custom domains. Only thing about using a custom domain is that using a custom domain, only you are only you are using might make it easier to build a profile. It's true. That is the trade-off, though. So again, if you are more concerned about max privacy, then yes, go ahead and use Proton Pass. If you're most concerned about owning your own crap and like being prepared and being resilient, then use a custom domain. But again, I think it's overall not a huge concern, especially if you're using like a generic domain that's not attached to your first and last name. You still have a lot of flexibility there. And you can use both. Like you can use you could set up a brand new simple login account that you use for like privacy purposes, and you can set up like maybe your Proton Pass is used with a custom domain, and you keep those completely separate. So it's not one or the other necessarily. Ah, it skipped. So annoying. Let's see. Sorry if I missed this earlier, Henry. Can you talk more about the new Ublock Lite for Safari? How does it compare against Adgard? Yeah, I can't really tell you. I haven't used it. First impressions are that it's from they're two very trusted developers. Ublock Origin probably has a lot more of like a rep in our community, but Adgard has they're doing good stuff as well. Ublock Origin Lite though is going to literally just be in Safari as an extension. Adgard, if you've ever used Adgard, yes, it has an extension. It also has a DNS. It also has a VPN, which in itself might already be a bit of a, might already answer it for you. Like if you literally just want a Safari ad blocker, then just get Ublock Origin Lite. But if you want something that has also DNS filtering and a few extra bells and whistles, then Adgard does all of that under one roof. So that's already something to think about. But other than that, I haven't played with it or done thorough research into it. So that's something I'd save for a full review. Matt Robertson, my big win has been in shifting a lot of my calendars to Proton Calendar. I still have a lot of work to go. I sync calendars with my wife, who is not very privacy focused. Haven't tackled sync yet. Yeah, I hope it goes well. It's gotten better since it first came out. But Proton Calendar is one of the hardest Proton things for me to personally get into. And I don't know if that's a personal thing or if that's a universal thing. I still use it, but more so indirectly now, where if I get a calendar invite in Proton Mail, I add it to my Proton Cal and then that syncs to my actual calendar. So it's a bit more indirect, and I find that still better than using it directly at the moment. So yeah, that's been my experience, but I hope that that transition goes well for you, and it's definitely a win for privacy. I'd like to ask if there would be an updated Go Incognito like a reboot. I think I heard it somewhere. Yeah, no, of course. So right now, it's being set up on the new platform still. It's about like halfway transition to the new platform. So all of you on Teachable right now, you should get an email in the coming weeks about the transition, so you can start setting up your accounts on a new platform. And that means V1 is transitioned to a fully open source platform that is like really cool. And it's a whole new workflow, and it's, well, it's not formally open source. It's using the LearnDash plugin in WordPress. They say it's like based on open source code, but I don't think it's formally open source, unfortunately. But yes, there will be good stuff coming. Again, keep your eyes and ears open. It's a huge project, and it's going to take a lot of stuff to make sure it's done right. So I'm trying not to rush through it and make sure it's done properly. But there will be some PSAs coming very shortly. If Chat Control EU law were to pass, what would you do to have some privacy? Honestly, I'm going to try to avoid this because it's too speculative right now. I don't know if this is only going to apply to certain services. I don't know if it's going to apply to, like, roll your own solutions. Like if I start my own messenger, does that messenger, am I breaking the law by having non-backdoored end-to-end encryption? So there's so many what ifs and don't knows, and I just don't know yet. There's way too many, and it's, to me, I just don't even have enough information to answer that question. It's a good question to ask, and it's something to think about for yourself, but it's a massive what if, and the amount of prep you can do won't really change. It's one of those things, like there's certain things that you want to prepare for, and there's certain things that you just don't have control over, and preparing for them won't really change much for you most likely, and this is one of them. realistically, you're not going to be that far ahead of someone else who did no preparation, because we just don't know what's going to happen yet. I do think as this starts progressing a bit further and we actually see where it's headed, we might have more information to act a bit more proactively. But right now, we're years away. I have Libre Wolf, Firefox fork for YouTube with Ublock, a downloader, and a bypasser. Yeah, we got some emojis. We got a turtle. We got a cat in a box. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause here. This is an easy place because this thing keeps frickin' jumping around. But I can very easily pick out those two emojis. So that's a good pause point for me. Let me go back to the wins here. Move from VS Code to NeoVim, by the way. Learned how to use RSync, so making backups is easy instead of a chore. RSync is a pretty cool service. It enables you to pretty much do like bidirectional syncing between devices. So if you're trying to keep things like up to date, that's a way to do it. Have more or less moved to noai.duckgo.com purely to have a no AI experience, and DuckGo's, oh, no AI. I see. And DuckGo's bad search results have made me search more to find what I want instead of being given the answer instantly by an LLM. So yeah, I didn't know they had this, but it looks like DuckGo has like a no AI domain that you can use if you don't like their summaries. On the other hand, I've actually been kind of really enjoying DuckAI, like their chat. Their summaries are hit or miss, so I get why you'd want to avoid that, but like test. Oh yeah, they disable everything in the no AI. That's pretty cool, actually. I'm glad they offer that because I know not everybody wants that stuff. But if you just go to regular DuckGo here, I actually like DuckAI. I've been using it here and there. They even have GPT5 Mini now, and it pretty much proxies everything privately. I think it's a really good middle ground if you want kind of like regular ChatGPT, but with far better privacy. You can even, like I'm doing this in Mullvad browser, not logged in, so you can just freely access that. It's pretty well done. I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm just going to call you T. Discovered Henry's channel and a couple more other privacy-focused channels 2 weeks ago. While I knew some stuff, I wasn't actively taking action, so I decided to do as much as I can in short periods of time, so only small fixes and changes. Here's what I did so far. They deleted over 350 old accounts. That's huge. It's not a small thing. They reduced social media time. That is good for a lot of things outside of privacy. Changed passwords on all left accounts and added 2FA where it's possible. Also high impact. Created local Windows 11 account and tweaked system as much as I can manually. And with, they use privacy.sexy as well as OOSU, something shut up 10. I forgot what the O and O stands for, but it's one of those tools that like debloats Windows for you. Removed over 250 apps and services on their Samsung Galaxy with ADB. They installed Portmaster, which is like a firewall tool. It's open source that can block spam, telemetry, and leftovers, not just on Windows, but also on Linux as well. And they also started using Proton VPN for daily use, both PC and phone. They applied Mullvad DNS to their router settings. They got entry-level Optory subscription for a year and Cloaked subscription for 1 month. If the numbers are true, Cloaked already deleted a lot of info, but it's kind of pricey, so maybe I'll switch to easy opt-outs. I'm currently using easy opt-outs right now. I did set up an Optory sub just to test out Optory and see how it is. So I guess technically I'm using both easy opt-outs and Optory. You can't go wrong with either of those services. They're kind of, right now, the best recommended services that we have that are evidence-based. Figure out which apps accept direct donations and did my first $10 donation to them. Something I can maintain every month. And Roku TV, I wasn't using it for streaming, only YouTube and as HDMI monitor. As I don't need it for YouTube, I disconnected it from Wi-Fi and only use it as HDMI mode, waiting for LG Media Player to arrive so I can use Blu-ray. Huge wins. These are not small, minor wins. So this is a massive short burst because, again, like deleting 350 old accounts and changing passwords, adding 2FA, that's like weeks, multiple weeks, if not months for certain people. So again, huge stuff there. Apps, Brave, Signal, Proton for email, Thunderbird, which makes me think that you're using paid Proton. For YouTube and NewPipe, extra for Twitch, AnyType instead of Notion, Proton ecosystem overall. Thinking about subscription, but even free versions. Oh, I see. You're not using Thunderbird with Proton. Okay. Bitwarden instead of a browser password manager. Thinking about Proton Pass, if I'll sub and move to them fully. Ente off, open source analogs such as LibreOffice, Darktable, and GIMP instead of the mainstream counterparts. Services, just to look up information. They have a few extra here. And what they're looking to do in the future is switch everything to Proton and Tuda, thinking about some aliasing services here, clean more accounts, migrate to Linux, pixel with graphene, freeze credit, check emails and socials only once a day, and they use free time to create and write more, or just be present. Yeah, I think that's all beautiful stuff. Let's see, maybe I missed something, maybe didn't do it yet, but it seems like a good lifetime journey start. Big thanks to Henry, Techlore community, and others. Look forward to any suggestions if there are any at all. Stay safe. And yeah, thank you for being on the journey and sharing like your journey so publicly with all of us. This is huge stuff. Yeah, I mean, all I can really add here, you're already doing some incredible stuff. I'd say you have a lot of services, so if you can consolidate and make life a little easier for yourself, you might create a bit more of a sustainable lifelong journey, which it sounds like is what you want, because it's, you know, you have Proton and Tuda, which again, I'm all in support of using multiple services, but when you have too many, it can also get overwhelming. So like you don't need Optory and easy opt-outs. I know I just said I have both, but if I wasn't doing it for the channel and for testing purposes, I would just have one, realistically. So try to keep life easy for yourself. You're still going to get almost all the benefits, and that's really all I have to really share here. Otherwise, you're doing a really good job. And I do really like, where was it? Healthy habits and being more present IRL. I think meditation is a great way to do that. And however you want to meditate, is all up to you. But it sounds like I think that's something that would really help in terms of like your mental sanity when you're off screen. Lightning Toaster, a regular, they are active. They convinced a friend of mine to start dual booting Linux Mint on his gaming PC in the near future for non-privacy reasons and also non-coding reasons. And here's the story. He gave me his laptop for temporary use. As I was using it, I felt the urge to give him a tour of what Linux desktop looks like. He agreed, as long as it didn't touch his Windows 10 installation and it was reasonably quick, and so I used Ventoy to turn a USB stick into a multi-boot one. Out of the 4 distros I showed him, he liked Linux Mint, and I'm really glad he liked it because I know he's one of those people who are actively avoiding Windows 11 as long as they can. He told me he fears the bloat and the UI choices, which is understandable. Side note, I bet there are a lot of others like him that are sitting on the edge of switching to Linux, but are still unsure probably because they haven't seen the actual desktop experience with their own eyes on their own machine. Currently, he only has plans to use it for gaming, but I can't imagine he won't expand to other areas once he's on the other side. Side note, he also just despises Windows in general, so that helps a bit too. Yeah, but like, who actually likes Windows? So that's my one counterpoint here, is that I do like fully agree. I think a lot of people are on the edge of switching away from Windows, and they typically just need like the smallest push. Their feet are hanging off the edge and they're about to be in the pool and they just need just 2 fingers. I just don't know how many people are actually that sold on Windows. Anytime you go, oh, you use Windows, it's like, yeah, I'm a gamer, or I need it for work. But I feel like people have to almost justify why they use Windows because almost everyone seems to agree it's not good. And I do think it's really awesome that you just use Ventoy and just show them, hey, this is what it'd be like if you ran Linux 24/7 on your machine. Here's what it looks like, and you actually make it a tangible thing for them. I think that's great. And even if they don't switch to it, the fact they see it means that next time someone else asks them about Linux, they're going to go, oh yeah, I don't use Linux, but it seems really cool. So they at least have some point of reference, and they can at least say something good about it or say they have an experience with it. So big wins there. Let's see, Internet Ghost wanted to share that they wrote a political activism post. I have not read this yet, Internet Ghost, but I'll go ahead and open this in a new tab so I can give it a read afterwards. I don't know these names. I also can't do, I think I've mentioned this before, I can't do the numbers. Like numbers and words for usernames, I never know what they're actually trying to say. They've been using YouTube since some time around 2008 to 2010, and there have been so many anti-consumer and anti-privacy practices in that span of time that it's hard to count. The introduction of AI ID verification was the final straw, so I'm finally done with YouTube. I sadly had to get rid of a lot of creators that I followed on my RSS reader because they didn't have their videos up anywhere else, nor did they have any sort of blog I could follow, but I was able to find a few of them on PeerTube. I hope you're fine. I hope you found us on PeerTube. We're on PeerTube. And a few others had blogs that I didn't know about until I went through this process. Is it a sacrifice? Absolutely, but it's one I'm willing to make for myself on a personal level, as well as in the battle for a freer internet. Yeah, very, very firm line in the sand, very respectable, and not something a lot of people would do. So again, mad respect. And I do wish more creators move to PeerTube. I'm also kind of tired of seeing YouTube alternatives that are centralized, that are run by a single company, that don't fully address the real concerns with YouTube. From what I've seen, as rough around the edges as PeerTube can be, it's truly trying to be the next most resilient form of YouTube. And I really wish creators would migrate to it, but I also can't blame people because I do think PeerTube needs some kind of monetization method, or else no mainstream creators are going to migrate to it unless they just believe in the spirit of open source and privacy, etc. Like, we spend money on this PeerTube server. It's like $60 a month to host Techlore.tv. So not only do we make no money on our PeerTube server, but we spend money to have the PeerTube server. So that's completely the inverse of YouTube. So it needs a monetization model, and it also just needs more people. It needs the network effect. And also hosters out there need to offer better, more reliable hosting, because so many of the PeerTube servers that you can join, they haven't been updated in like a year, 2 years, 3 years. They're full, they're slow. So PeerTube, it needs some work. But they are truly trying to do the most resilient, best alternative to YouTube, I think. Like, their philosophy is the best of every project I've seen out there. Let's see here. I removed my phone. This is itchy, LOL. I removed my phone number from several online services that I'd signed up for before I cared about privacy because I learned that knowing someone else's phone number can be used to dox their real name. Of course, some of the online services could still retain the data secretly, but imperfect actions are still better than nothing. That is still something, so good job. I know it might not seem like a big thing, but you still started taking steps in the right direction, so good stuff. And then let me go ahead and pivot back to you all here in the live chat. Wow, it didn't skip around. Crazy. I don't know much about this, to be honest. I use Tailscale for things, but I don't know if that would work exactly for this use case here. Oh, here we go. Regarding your auth, this is tips for Kion here. Regarding your Authy codes issue, make sure your clock is synced with an online server. If the time is wrong on your device, the codes won't work. I had this issue before, so that's something to look into. If you didn't already, oh yeah, you already saw it. Great. Ah, it skipped. Do you have any browser recommendations other than Brave? I use Firefox right now for YouTube only since it's Google, and I think their cookies can spy things you have open in other tabs. Okay, yeah, so in terms of browser recs on desktop, first, our website's resources are a great place to go. Techlore.tech/resources, that's where always the recommendations will be. So Brave is great, Firefox is great. People like LibreWolf. Some people have been getting into Zen browser. Keep in mind, Zen is not exclusively a privacy browser. I would say it is a browser that happens to just care about privacy, which is an important distinction because Brave and Firefox try to be actual like privacy browsers, and they enable and do a few more things that you might not find in some of these browsers without some DIY. Those are the main go-to places. Some people like Vivaldi. That's another one to explore. It's like source available, and it's Chromium based. But I also don't fully know why you would use Vivaldi over Brave for this exact situation. So that's what I have to say there. Try them all out. You can also, pro tip, you can have a beta of one of these. Like, you can do Firefox beta, Brave beta, and it'll be like a second browser on your system. And you can use it just for streaming or YouTube or something like that, which isn't very sensitive. So that's something else. Have you talked about Lumo joining late? Yeah, I made a whole dedicated video. Just type in Proton Lumo review on YouTube, and ours should come up. Yeah, there's a video. How do people have 350 accounts? What are we talking about here? They do add up. I will say I've seen it, and it can add up. Do you know of any private shared to-do task apps? Looking for something for myself and my wife. Lots of people have recommended standard notes, but I'd like something more refined for tasks. Yeah, it's tough. You're going to find private task apps, but not a lot of them are shared. Keep in mind, sharing with end-to-end encryption is a tough technical challenge. So yeah, the best I've found, I'm currently using Lunatask, but it doesn't do sharing. So your best bet might be, I don't know, it's something I'm exploring. Sadly, something self-hosted isn't a terrible option here. So if you're able to spin up something like Nextcloud or even Synology, I think has some basic tools you can use. That's an option to go, but this is something that does need some kind of service that makes it easy for people. My win of the week is installing Signal on my family's phones. Good job. Have you created a group with them, or is it just like you installed the app and you're done? Why can't Proton allow for POP3 or IMAP? They can offer the encryption on their Proton Mail and not on POP3. I use a bunch of email addresses for work. So you can use Proton Bridge on desktop, but it requires a paid account, and then you can use it with a third-party email client. I already had Brave and alternative search engines, but I'm also replacing Google Docs with Writexo and LibreOffice. I haven't heard of Writexo before, but good stuff. Nice changes. How do we feel about Obsidian for a private note-taking app? Yeah, Obsidian is not open source, but it is like offline by default, and it seems like a pretty trustworthy service. And their cloud sync is end-to-end encrypted. And it can easily sync with an end-to-end encrypted provider. Like you can use Obsidian with Proton Drive because it's just markdown files. So it's pretty flexible, and I'm not an Obsidian fan, but I wouldn't have an issue using Obsidian if I actually clicked with it the way it's organized. Okay, I'm gonna 1154. I just see a member here. We have a new bronze Techlorian, Rodrigo Bassi Kinoshita. I want to thank you. Hey from Brazil. I'm a fan of your work from so long. Thank you so much. Thank you for becoming a member and supporting the channel. And yeah, and hi from the States. Brazil's gorgeous. So yeah, I have nothing but positive things to say. Yeah, thank you. I never know what to say. I always feel so awkward when you guys support me. Let's see. What do you think of the future of Proton will be like for me? I think Proton is going to keep pushing out new stuff and keep building the ecosystem. But other than that, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I hope that they can bring it together, like they can mesh things a little bit better together. That's still something I'd love to see from them. Do you think Ecosia is a good search engine for privacy? I've been trying it instead of DDG, and it produces better results and produces them faster. From what I've seen, Ecosia isn't like, they don't brand themselves as like the most private search engine out there, but last I looked, it had at least a slightly better privacy policy than Google. So I haven't thoroughly looked into them, but based on what I can tell, it might not guarantee the same level of privacy as DuckDuckGo, but it's probably more private than Google. But again, I'm not a Ecosia expert, so I wouldn't know for sure. So if anyone has more information, definitely leave it in the chat. Do you think Windows 10 LTSC is a good choice? I overall don't, and it's not something I really recommend here. A, because there's not really legally a clean way to get it. That's legal and easy to recommend, and like so part of Techlore is building solutions and helping people in the easiest and most mainstream way possible. I occasionally do touch on advanced topics, of course. That is something that I'm personally passionate about, and I know we still have some people in here who really like the advanced stuff. But ultimately, I think pushing Windows 10 LTSC as a solution is just, it's like the same complexity as just telling someone to install Linux. And I just can't fully get behind it. So no. I think if it works for you and it's got this weird, configuration that fits exactly what you're looking for and your use case, etc., please use it. I'm not like anti-LTSC. It's just not an easy to recommend mainstream solution that I'm going to push to a lot of people. I think it's a lot easier to recommend people to improve the privacy of what they're currently running on their machine if they have to use Windows for whatever reason. Get them to install Portmaster, get them to clean up the telemetry, get them to disable the toggles, get them to use Signal, good browsers, get away from Microsoft's ecosystem. Consider Mac OS because I do think it's far better than Windows for privacy and security. And if, hey, you're feeling ambitious, dual boot with Linux or set up a virtual machine, try it out. Those are the things I'm more likely to push than moving someone to Windows 10 LTSC. I wish that Germany vote against the chat control in the EU. Yeah, I would hope so as well. That is not good for them. What do you think of Matrix? I haven't heard about it in a while. It would be nice to have a good Discord alternative. So I'm someone who has never really considered Matrix as a Discord alternative. And I am by no means a Discord fan. I can't stand Discord. I am not here to like gatekeep what Discord is, but I have used Discord long enough to like kind of understand what it's trying to do and what it's trying to be and the kind of person and the way that you use it that it's meant to be. And Matrix just isn't that. You know, Matrix has like spaces, which then breaks out into like rooms. It tries to emulate Discord, but it just doesn't do it quite the same way. You're not going to find the same usability. You're not going to find voice channels. You're not going to find the whatever they call the rooms where like you have like it's like Twitter Spaces where, you know, everyone hops in and everyone can tune in. It's not going to have, you know, like a sidebar that shows you everyone who's online, and it's just not that clean to use. So I like Matrix. It's a cool project. I'm not here to say Matrix shouldn't exist. I think it's very valuable. We need something federated. We need a federated messenger. We need the cool things they're doing. It's open source. They're a great project. But I personally see Matrix as more of like a focused Slack alternative. It's like watered down Slack. And I think its biggest use case is actually for internal use. I think that is where Matrix shines. It's for projects, companies, governments, universities that need a private place to chat on servers that they control themselves. I think if you're using Matrix on someone else's home server, like, yes, you can still use Matrix if you need it for something, but I just don't find that to really do much for me. Home servers collect a lot of metadata, so you're getting a massive downgrade when it comes to the privacy of your chats if you're comparing Matrix to Signal. It's a lot slower. The clients are substantially worse than Signal. You get probably less features as a whole. So I'm just not the kind of person to recommend Matrix as like a go-to, you know, one-on-one messenger. The one real cool thing about Matrix is that you can mostly just set it up on any desktop device. So you don't need a phone number, and it's great for people who are trying to go totally phoneless. So yeah, that's my overall recap. Just to finish it on a positive note, I like Matrix. I like what they're doing, but I struggle to call it a Discord alternative. Let's see. I know Tuda's free tier allows 3 tags. Does Proton's free tier have a number of tags? I don't know. That's a good question. It's hard to make people switch over to the platform. NoteSnook. Can we trust Mega Drive to store personal data? I think Mega is a solid choice. I wouldn't trust it with the most sensitive things in the world, but I don't mind Mega. I still have a Mega account I use for some things here and there. Proton Mail or Gmail? I don't even know how to answer that. I got my father to install Signal a while ago, and he now had managed to get his friends to install Signal too. That's cool. No, that's awesome. Sometimes you just got to install it for people. Is DuckDuckGo more private than it was? I heard in the past there was an exception for Microsoft tracking. Yeah, so in the DuckDuckGo mobile browser, this is not in the search engine. DuckDuckGo also has a browser, and in that browser, they excluded some Microsoft trackers in certain contexts. So yeah, definitely not good. It didn't affect the search engine privacy, but it did affect the browser. So a lot of people lost a lot of trust in them for that. So yeah, kind of your call on like what that means for you. I'm actually setting up a new laptop following your guide and how to harden Windows on. I'm so happy this Friday. Yes, no, that's awesome. And please tune in next week. Let us know how the setup goes. It won't be that bad, so don't get overwhelmed. It's a lot of steps and it's a lot of things to do, but once you do it, it's going to feel like a clean system that's yours. That is probably the biggest benefit people feel when they have like private operating systems, is that it's just clean. And I think that is a #1 reason to kind of do it, to be honest. Oh, you abandoned smartphones and became a hermit. So you are one of those people who might actually really enjoy Matrix for that. Yeah, again, just go ahead, give it a shot. You'll enjoy the process, I think. You'll learn a lot in the process, and when you're done, it'll feel good to have a machine that you feel like is yours. So, is Ente auth safe? And Tuda and Proton spam and fishy spam are better than Gmail. I run. Okay, Ente auth is safe, yes. You know, nothing's perfectly safe, but Ente auth is one of the most trusted solutions out there. Proton and Tuda's spam filtering, is it lagging? It is pretty hot here. Let me see. Sorry, guys. Let me, it's weird because like locally on my system, it shows nothing's wrong, but something is definitely not right. If we need to, I'll disable PeerTube and that might help. Let me see how many people are watching on PeerTube. We have 3 viewers on PeerTube. Yeah, so because I don't have my normal Wi-Fi network, I'm going to go ahead and cut PeerTube right now, just to try to help out the YouTube side of things, because we have like over 100 people on the YouTube side of things, and we only have 4 on PeerTube. Okay, yeah, PeerTube's shooting up, or YouTube's shooting up right now. Hopefully that helps. Let me know if that helps, guys. And sorry about that. Again, PeerTube is in beta, as I mentioned earlier. How big do you think is the impact of tools like the Windows Shut Up tool? I think it's pretty high impact. You know, you're getting rid of like 80% of the crap that is doing most of this stuff. Despite what a lot of people might think, Microsoft, I don't think Microsoft just bakes in a bajillion different ways to track you just for the sake of tracking you. I think they're just naturally a exploitive company, and this is just part of the way they do things. And where I'm going with this is I think that like 80% of the telemetry and the privacy invasion of Windows can effectively be cut out with these tools. I can never say 100%, but I do think that 80% you can get done with these tools. But it comes at the cost of instability. It's a bit more DIY. It's not my preferred way to do things, but it is definitely an option. And if I had to use Windows, I probably would pursue these tools. Remember to save your Proton Drive encrypted keys. If you do a password reset on Proton Drive, you have to manually unlock your old data. It's a good tip. Okay, let's continue with the wins. Okay, we got Anxious Limo. This is not a weekly win. Rather a snippet of my privacy journey. Makes use of free services as much as possible, contributing to open source by filing bug reports. Okay, I'll go ahead and summarize this because it's pretty long. So they go ahead and use operating systems. They moved over to Linux, and they also went ahead and moved to a debloated mobile device. For browsers, they have Firefox, but it looks like they also have some cool extensions here. They also have Brave, as well as Zen browser with Ublock origin. And for Android, they use Firefox. How's that? Is that not a fork already? Firefox? Firefox for general browsing with Ublock origin and redirector extensions. Brave for site logins and Tor browser and a work profile. They're using Brave for their search engine. They have Proton, Tuda, and DuckGo email addresses, not their alias, for important sites for bank, government, etc. They have Ente auth. They have a mail client, which is Thunderbird. They have FileIn for file storage and Proton Drive just in case. They use SyncThing for their local networks, and they use Send for transfers. And then they have LibreOffice and OnlyOffice, NotesNook for syncing, DNS Crypt Proxy with Oblivious DOH and custom block lists, Rethink DNS on mobile. And they've been using NextDNS for a very long time, and they switched recently for the privacy benefits of ODOH. They have Proton VPN, Cloudflare Warp with Rethink DNS. Then they have some app stores that they use as well as YouTube alternatives. really cool journey. I'd like to know how long it took you to do all this, but these are really impressive wins. And yeah, I'm excited, and I hope you tune in next week to share like what these wins are in the last week as well, to see like if there's any updates even to what you've already shared here. Let's see. We got some people helping each other out there. Lightning Toaster made, oof, geez, sorry about that. Lightning Toaster made a few small contributions to consumerrights.wiki, adding some small grammar cleanups, granny rule, type clarifications, external links in an attempt to help build a better information ecosystem for the layman internet user. This wiki not only tackles right-to-own issues, but also many of the anti-consumer practices we as privacy advocates are familiar with. And I didn't know this, so apparently there's granny rule. That's new for me. But I've never seen this before. I'm checking it out right now. But this looks really awesome. Wow. Yeah, I'll try to keep it open. So I have two things to dig into here after this live stream. We got Garujo, promised to write an article about my digital minimalism and dual device distraction management article. Here it is. And this is their experience of daily driving 2 different devices. And then let's see here. Okay, something else I'll have to dig into. It's a bit much for a live stream right now. But definitely go check it out if any of you are listening. If it doesn't give me much benefit, then I'll stick to using Proton VPN instead of the SPN. Another win, I just began the intro for the video essay I promised, and I'll slowly work on the chapters now. I just gave a glimpse on the Techlore Signal group, but none is going to know my masked self yet, so stay tuned for that. So one of my friends just returned to me on Signal. That's crazy, and I didn't even say anything. Cool. I think if I remember correctly, the video essay does have to do with privacy. So yeah, really cool stuff. And I'm glad to see you guys get active in communities that aren't traditionally this community, and you're reaching people where they are. It's important. We don't see the forum. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'll go ahead and briefly. Yeah, having one monitor really does screw things up sometimes. Let's see here. Yeah, so I'll just briefly recap that for you. This was Anxious Lilimo, who went through their privacy journey here. And then we have Lightning Toaster, who did the consumer rights. This is the consumer rights wiki. And then here's Garujo and their blog that they wrote here. There you go. I'm really sorry about that. I hope to be back on my normal multi-monitor setup soon, so I can actually see what's going on everywhere. Let's see. I'm going to double check now. I'm paranoid. Oh, I'm frozen. No, I'm not frozen. Okay. Finally started backing up my files. I've been putting it off for the longest time, but I gave it a shot after some reflecting on what benefits and backups cloud syncing could have, and maybe from a bit of discussion about the value of aiming for good security. So they pretty much came to the conclusion it's worth the extra effort and cost to get an encrypted cloud storage provider to sync specific folders in case a local drive fails. So they have an SSD, they got Filelin's 500 gigabyte plan, and they're liking it so far. I did not know many people around me who also sync their files to a server other than OneDrive, and that's only because that's pre-installed malware in a hyperbolic way, or is it? I really hope that changes when the EU sovereignty hype gets big enough and my friends start caring too. We'll see. Good stuff, and I'm glad that you're taking your backups a little bit more seriously. Let's see. During week 63, this is actually the same person who was featured for the Proton story. I have now deleted more unused accounts. I hope one of the Roblox accounts gets deleted, as it has been kind of weird how you delete it. I have requested that all my data and the account gets deleted, but they want me to confirm by mail. Are you serious? Can you guys confirm that? That's actually crazy. I have furthermore added a second password to my Proton account. Congrats. And then Rithwick said they liked the article from Garujo. And then Rithwick had some graphene overheating issues. And I think you opened a thread, and people said that seemed to just be a Pixel 7 issue. So hopefully that's just a Pixel issue. My win for this week is that switching to the iPhone, I noticed that Magic Earth Maps requires a subscription, which costs $1 a year. I decided to pay for it, even though it was free to use on my Pixel 7. Yeah, I've heard good things about Magic Earth. I haven't really played around too much with it, but it seems to be a pretty common like Google Maps alternative that people enjoy. So good stuff, guys. Sorry about the forum situation. And why is the keyboard not working now? Everything's just not working. So if this whole live stream just cuts out randomly, I said goodbye in advance because it seems to be not working as well as I'd like it to. Let's see here. I'm going to switch back. Yeah, is the keyboard dead? I think the keyboard's dead. Wireless stuff never works well. All right. Yeah, and I'm just going to be in the live chat now, so we're done with the weekly wins in the forum. So please leave me any questions. I'll be on for probably another 5 or 10 minutes here. Go ahead and leave questions. Go ahead and leave any of your wins if you haven't left them already. Please leave a like on this video if you're still watching and you enjoy what you're seeing. And yeah, let me go ahead and just give you guys some attention here. I'm trying to figure out where I left off on. Okay, it was around here. I'm installing for my mother. I don't know how to turn on Windows. Yeah, just make sure it's easy for her to use, right? Like, we don't want to make things private and then inconvenient and hard to use, because then people are less likely to maybe try this kinds of things in the future. So whatever you do, just make sure she's still able to use it. After watching your videos about privacy, I feel like even my cat is secretly working for Zuckerberg. Hopefully that's not the goal. I don't want you guys to watch the videos and like leave them feeling like paranoid and helpless. That's not the goal. I know that does very well on YouTube, and that is a big message that is pushed consistently, but that's not the goal of what I'm trying to do. Of course, there is a little bit of healthy fear that is like, but it's hopefully based in realism and not in like your cat is secretly working. So I'm sure this is mostly a humorous comment, but I just want to really make that clear. I made the switch to Proton over 2 years ago, been very happy, but I'm still disappointed they do not have a Linux desktop client for the Drive service. Yeah, I honestly think at this point, this is like the biggest concern, not the biggest criticism I've seen for Proton in general. I think a lot of people want to see that Proton Drive for Linux client. It's something I'm seeing constantly right now. It seems very obvious to me that my job applications are being sold to data brokers. Anyone else notice an increase in spam calls and scam attempts after job searching? It's so frustrating. I haven't heard of this before, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised anymore. It seems like that would be a very lucrative business to target people who are looking for jobs, and especially for scams. So yeah, I hope it's not true, but I wouldn't be surprised either. Cubes OS for the win. Would you stop being so cute because I'm in a serious relationship with Dove, my chat GPT? There's a lot to unpack in this comment, and I don't know what to say to that. I hope that Dove is treating you well. Alfred, thank you. WriteTexo is a good alternative to Google Docs in terms of online notes. Cool, let me check it out. Oh, I almost spilled my water bottle. Okay. WriteTexo. Private, secure online notepad. Let's check this out. Oh. Okay, this might be private and secure, but I don't know if it's a Google Docs alternative the way that you might be thinking it is. At least the way I was thinking it is. This is like very... the way that this is all cut off. Let me see if I can move that. Yeah. I wouldn't call it a Google Docs alternative. Like, I mean, it might be, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think this might not have the same usability someone would expect from it. But if you just need some simple like document editing, this might be pretty good. Honestly, right now, I think the best Google Docs alternative, I hate to say it, is probably Proton Drive right now with Docs. Like, Proton Docs is pretty good, and the real-time collaboration works really well. I've been testing it out with some people, and I think it even works now without other people needing a Proton account. So that unironically has become a really good recommendation for me, at least. It sucks this keyboard died. I have to reach over. Just a chat. Oh, WriteTexo is more for fiction writing, but they've said it's good for casual notes too. I see, I see. How good is Proton Albums compared to Ente Photos? So I haven't used Proton Albums yet because as far as I can tell, Proton's Albums is meant to be kind of, It's meant, I see it as it's Proton Drive first with photos, whereas Ente Photos is photos first. Now, again, I haven't really used it yet, but based on what they're doing and the albums, I think what you're going to get in Ente is more like a proper Google Photos alternative, whereas Proton Drive is more like a place where you can just store your photos. If you've ever used Mega before, the drive provider, from what I've been able to tell, what Proton is doing with photos is pretty similar to what Mega is doing with photos, which is essentially like, yeah, it's not as nice as using Google Photos. So I think Ente is going to be better. But try them both. I think you can use them both in the free plans. And Ente has a free trial, like free plan right now as well. I just saw a message pop up and it disappeared in 1 second. LOL. Where? I really want Proton spreadsheets so I don't have to download and upload a file each time. That would be cool. Yeah, I agree. And if it's anywhere near as good as the docs, I think that could be awesome. A good site for temporary email. Honestly, I stopped using temporary email services ever since I started using Simple Login and Proton Pass. Like, I just don't see the use case for it. Almost all the temporary email services are flagged on those sites anyway. So, yeah, if anyone has recommendations, definitely share them. Gorilla Mail is still around, I think. I don't know how widely accepted they are. I haven't kept up with their development. That is something I used to use, but again, I don't use these services anymore. I want to get Proton on Black Friday for annual subscription and lock myself for that price. I hope they reduce it. Yeah, they normally always do, so that's a pretty safe bet. What do you think about ChatGPT? People are sharing a lot of private information nowadays, but they don't offer any privacy. Yeah, I've come around a bit more to AI. I am not entirely pro AI, but I've been implementing it into quite a few more places. But, you know, the privacy just isn't that good. So if you just need access to ChatGPT, I showed earlier you can use DuckAI, duck.ai, and that's a great way to just quickly access ChatGPT models with a lot more privacy for yourself. And if you want, offline, this is how I do most stuff, is I have an offline client. You can use Jan AI, you can use Misty, there's other like open source local AI clients that you can use, and you can use those with models offline, or you can use them with online models. And if you purchase API credits and stuff like that, you typically find slightly better privacy policies from those providers. They're still typically not the best privacy policies, but they're a little bit better than if you just use the free one online. So there's a big spectrum here. And, you know, Proton released Luma recently. I talked about it. I pretty much said it's not where it's going. Like, I don't have a use case for it yet myself for Proton Lumo. It's really cool, technically speaking. Like, what they've been able to do on the technical side of things is really interesting. And I'm just waiting to see if it improves to the point where I can actually use it frequently. But right now, I'm much preferring using, like, DuckAI. Could you recommend a website or video that clearly shows teenagers how to be safe online? Yeah, I try to avoid that mainly for YouTube purposes. YouTube is pretty strict about like what's for kids and what's not for kids. And to be honest, I just don't fully understand the like repercussions of labeling something as for kids. So it's just something I want to be careful about, just from the channel perspective. So if any of you know a little bit more about that, and maybe I'm just not understanding this properly, let me know. It's something I can also do more research on. But really, the more important thing here is that most of the advice I share, I like to be as universal as possible. The main issue, I'd assume, being a teen, is getting access to some of those tools. So like getting access to Proton. But you can use Proton for free, and like there is no KYC. So there are a lot of these services that should work regardless if you're a teen or if you're 70. Oh, I see. It was in a live chat and YouTube flagged it. Yeah, that makes sense. It can be pretty strict. Fan funding. Oh, you can just sort by fan funding. I see. It's just there's a blue thing here. I'm starting to get a little bit congested here, so I'm glad this is only 2 more minutes, so you guys don't hear me get worse. Yeah, the local LLMs, they can be used for quite a few things. Cool. I haven't heard of this service before. Henry, what's all the news about password managers lately? I mean, there's not a huge amount of news. I don't know news compared to what, like a year ago, a month ago. Um, oh, so actually there was news. Yesterday, there was a clickjacking vulnerability in password manager extensions. So if you use Proton Pass in your browser, Bitwarden in your browser, 1Password in your browser, etc., there was essentially a way for websites to spoof the pop-up to come up so that you would give your credentials to a website. It was very sophisticated, very hard to pull off. Proton Pass actually fixed it before the researchers even went public with it, which is really awesome. Bitwarden has a release coming out, I believe, this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it's already in their next release. Even then, it's not a critical issue that everybody should be frightened over. And then 1Password just straight up came forward and said, yeah, this is kind of a non-issue for most people. So I think they still intend to maybe deal with it. But they were pretty much saying this is pretty overblown and it's pretty out of scope. Like, realistically, they're not fully wrong either. Like, a password manager can only do so much about a site that's spoofing something. So yeah, that's pretty much the latest news there. I guess if you're trying to be like absolutely as secure as living possible, it's tough though, because the autofill can actually be phishing resistance too. Like, if you access a website and the autofill doesn't come up, it should kind of let you know, oh, this might not be the real website. But either way, just broadly, if I'm zooming out outside of like that one thing, there hasn't been anything crazy. Bitwarden has done some cool stuff. Proton Pass has still been doing cool stuff. I do think Proton Pass personally is still just my favorite password manager. Every time I try using Bitwarden, I'm like, it's not as smooth and easy to use as Proton Pass for me. And yeah, there aren't that many crazy updates outside of that. They're all still doing good stuff. So I have never been using a password manager, but now I'm planning to use one. Any suggestions? Hopefully that spiel kind of got you started. These all have free options with the exception of, I think, 1Password. I don't know if they have a free trial, but Bitwarden, Proton Pass, KeyPass, all free to try, all free to start. Give them a shot, see what clicks best with you. And you can export and import between all three of them. So you can import everything into one of them. Oh, I hate this. Export, import into a different one. Just try them all out. If you're concerned about YouTube Kids not letting you make stuff for teens, YouTube Kids is those for under COPPA laws, so under 13 years, at least in the US. EU varies from 13 to 16. Okay, I'll dig more into it. Thanks for like the overall breakdown there. Got to call it a day. Good night. Thanks for the nice stream. Yes, thank you, Kinky Koala. And thanks for tuning in. It's always good to have you. And you've been around for a long time too, which is crazy. And I just realized the Signal group. I hope you guys haven't been messaging too much. Yeah, sorry guys. The Signal group. Yeah, normally I do check the Signal group, but this week I don't even have a place to put my phone. This is such a small table, and I just have my one laptop, so it's really hard to keep track of everything right now. Oh, apparently a person in our Signal group said, this is way back, but someone asked if they could remove the forward from Proton to Gmail. It just says delete the forward in Proton settings. So it should be that simple. Yeah. They did warn me as well that my screen was not showing the forum. So a lot of people tried warning me. Proton Pass better than KeyPass? For myself, absolutely yes. I was getting very frustrated by the lack of central ecosystem in KeyPass. I was getting frustrated that on mobile, I have to find the right KeyPass client. I got frustrated that Strongbox got bought out by some other company. I got frustrated that the KeyPass XE extension worked half of the times on desktop. I got frustrated in that anytime I changed my cloud storage provider, I had to also migrate how it synced to my KeyPass client and think about that all the time. And yeah, it was just getting kind of frustrating for me. So for me, Proton Pass was a really good transition, and the fact that it integrates with simple login was kind of a no-brainer for me. And honestly, like, I took a plunge because I was using KeyPass for about, like 5+ years. And I took the plunge, and I have not regretted it since. It's made my account management so much easier. Of course, you know, if you're coming from Bitwarden to Proton Pass, I think the difference there is a lot smaller. But if you're coming from KeyPass to something like Proton, I think you will actually notice a pretty substantial usability improvement. And it's just nice to have a clean, reliable, consistent experience no matter what device you're on. That's been the big win for me. But I still have a KeePass database for certain things that I just never touch. It's like my offline, like, oh, this is like my backup database for if something goes wrong. So use both, right? Like try them both, see what works well for you. But yes, for me personally, Proton Pass is probably better than KeePass. But it's just not from a security perspective, just from a like life perspective and actually enjoying managing my passwords perspective. I'm writing my autobiography on Proton Drive, and then I encrypt everything with Veracrypt because my life is Scarface crazy. Jeez. Yeah, I mean, if that's the kind of security you want, then that's a decent way to do it. We talked about that workflow earlier, actually, in the stream. So it's a pretty solid way to get things done. Okay, guys. Yeah, I'm going to do a last call here, give you guys like 1 or 2 minutes. It's been a fun stream. It's good to be back. I'm glad I only had to take a week off. And I want to thank you all for your patience, and not just your patience, but your support last week, and all your kind comments. And yeah, it's been a bit of a transition. I've fallen behind on a ton of things back here. But the next 2 videos, so our editor right now has a really big video that was actually supposed to be done 2 weeks ago, but it ended up becoming this massive project. And that video is a Proton versus Tuda versus Fastmail video. And I think last I checked, it was sitting at around like 24 minutes. So it's just very thorough. And then I'm currently working on a top encrypted services video to just kind of showcase like what it looks like to get started with encrypted tools in the first place. So those are kind of the next 2 videos that are coming soon. And then of course we have the weekly stream next week. And then we have Ash who says, bro, make a detailed video on Cryptomator. Bro, there is one, bro. Just type in Cryptomator guide on YouTube. I just made one probably, like a few months ago? It was this year, actually. So I tried to give it like a nice overall breakdown of how it works and how to use it. So I hope that helps. Fuzzy Mint, I haven't seen you in a while. Yes, it's been a while since I've seen your name. And I'm glad... Sorry about that. I'm glad you're able to make it here, and I'm glad you said hi. And next week, hopefully I'll catch you again. I don't know what your time zone is, so I hope that these don't make things too difficult for you. Would love to see you talk about hardening Linux distros as more people are taking Linux up as their daily drivers. Yeah, so the device tutorial guides are still being redone. They haven't been forgotten about. I think so far we've done macOS and Windows. And so we have Linux next, and then iOS and Android. So 2 out of 5 are done. Our previous editor was working on those, and then they left, and now our new editor we're still clearing through the queue. So it's just a bit of time to work through everything. All right, guys. That's all I got here. Again, want to thank you all for your patience and your support. I want to thank you all for being here this week. I want to thank you all for leaving your wins and being involved. I really enjoy doing this every week, and you guys are kind of what makes it possible. So, yeah, I'll keep you all updated. Bro, come on, bro. Pizza list. I'll see you bros later. And gals, if any gals are here. And I'll see you next week. Hopefully there'll be some content coming out before the stream next week. I'm pretty hopeful that we'll get everything done by then. So see you guys.